Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. Today we're going over a new discovery. It's occurred on a species of theropod from South America, and what's going on with a species of herbivorous dinosaur from North America, and what's going on with elephants over in southern sub-Saharan Africa. And we are streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. So let's dive back into the Mesozoic era, or the time of the dinosaurs. From Sci News, paleontologists determined size of rare Cretaceous dinosaur. So, a partially preserved femur from the Kemkem beds of Morocco has revealed the size of a large bodied theropod dinosaur called a bellysaur. What? Okay, so the problem with this is that a bellysaur just it's the abbreviated version of a bellysauridae, which is a group of carnivorous theropod dinosaurs that existed over in different parts of South America, Africa, Asia, as well as Australia. So, this is a bit oddly stated. Now, the Kemkem beds, which is a massive fossil basin over in Morocco and takes place during the early late Cretaceous period, is where many of the fossils stem from. So, somewhere between 93 to 100 million years ago. So, you have different species of sauropods or long necked sauropods, as well as spinosaurs, abelisaurs. They come from this region. But I've got a feeling there was something off with the reporting because usually there's either some nickname for a dinosaur, like Bob or Buck, Steve, but and not really just giving it in just saying a bellysaur. There have been instances where certain specimens have been identified as like an unclassified bellysaur genus, but still has like a certain number or a name attached to it. So this is awkward. Abelisaurs or Belisauridæ were a group of meat-eating dinosaurs characterized by very small forelimbs, short, deep face, small razor-sharp teeth, and powerful muscular hind limbs. Yeah, this is the case with pretty much all of the Belisauurs. Had some of the smallest arms compared to their body size of any group of theropod dinosaurs. Well, I guess it's always having to throw in allosaurs like the mononychids, which in some cases only had one finger. There were certain species that had two, but they were probably more well, the mononychids likely had the ability to use them for digging out termite or ant mounds. Abelisaurs, certain species like Carnotaurus here. I guess let's see, who should we bring up? Actually, let's bring up Pyconemasaurus. So Pyconemo. I mean, certain species of Belisauros actually had very flexible arms, and there have been theories to these arms being used for attracting mates during the breeding season, which is certainly possible. Okay, there's a big problem here. First of all, this this small theropod that which seems to be okay. I'm going to go to the big theropod first. Well, actually, the small theropod looks like they took a young Abelisaur model from what is it? The Museum of Alberta or Museum of Edmonton, and just stuck it in this depiction. But this is definitely not an Abelisaur with the larger predator. It looks like somebody mixed a species of Tyrannosaur with a Carcharodontosaur, and who else? Think I'm even seeing a bit of like certain allosaur features, but carcharodontosaurs are members of Allosauroideae. Um, it is very heavily built, but this is definitely not a species of a bellysaur. The arms would be much smaller compared to its body size, and they would have, in some cases, four fingers, but the fingers are also they're much shorter and stockier compared to this species, despite him having very thick fingers, which is possibly somewhat realistic for certain species of carcharodontosaurs or just larger members of Allosauroideae in general. Not so much the megalosaurs or megalosauroideae. They tend to have much leaner arms compared to their body size, almost like with what you see. in certain types of Salorosaurs like the Megaraptorids or even Dromaeosaurs to an extent, but they are built differently.
What's
But
wrong with this guy's face?
okay, that's better. Piconymosaurus is known for having quite a distinct sort of a upper skull structure compared to a wide variety of different types of Abelisaurs. Um, Hold on a second. Is this possibly the Abelisaur that might have longer fingers and also overall arms compared to its body size than the other Abelisaurs? Still, though, when looking at that other model beforehand, it's very far off. Um, let's see what else is going on here. Okay, so this
Todd
one,
Abwe says hi.
well, hello, fellow theropod. So, this is taking place over in Argentina and Brazil.
He asked how big is it?
Oh, Um, okay, so when looking at the size of this creature, this is likely, at least so far, the largest species of Abelisaur that has been discovered. Um, Probably reaching somewhere around 30 to 33 feet in length. They're pushing 9 to 10 meters and probably weighed somewhere around 3.5 tons. So it was a massive species of Belisaur. 1.5 tons is around medium size for many species of the belly sores. In some cases, it can be in the upper level, but Piconymosaurus definitely takes the crown. Um, it's also, I guess you could say, when it comes to the upper skull, just a lot taller compared to certain other species. But you could also look at a wide variety of other different species of Abelisaurs, and I think just Carnotaurus is a good example. Considering, well, that specific species also is very distinct by its horn structures on the top of its head, and also having a bit of a different sort of an overall skull build. Like when looking at the teeth,
How's
and
this?
oh yeah, this is really good. They're even giving it a very lip-like structure. It's almost like they took the different skull, or I guess the um, face structure of an iguana or certain types of lizards today and added it onto this creature. And no, the Abelisaurs and the dinosaurs in general are very distantly related to every single species of lizard. They are quite closely related to different members of the Pseudosuchian or crocodilomorph lineage, including today's crocodilians, but they were their own group of warm-blooded archosaurs.
Is this a mating thing?
No, this looks like
Doesn't look like
it's
they're fighting.
he's stumbling.
Oh, so he's been drinking.
Yeah. Okay, they're also showing very flexible arms in this instance, and they're giving it a very elongated claw. I'm guessing that's the thumb. That's interesting. Did we find something on Piconymosaurus that showed it having a very elongated claw? That could still definitely cause certain major injuries if, well, I think it would have to be pretty close to another animal. Oh, I think that was something else. I'm definitely going to take a look into if we have judged or estimated the strength of those small arms. Now, that is a species of late Cretaceous bird, also by the Belissaur on the right. And you had many species of birds already occurring in the Cretaceous period over 135 million years ago. But focusing on the Belissaurs, this animal was feeding on different species of saltosaurs in the region. Probably. Actually, let's bring up a sauropod. So Chibutisaurus or Chubutisaurus? I don't know. Chubutisaau.
Sorry, it just
Well, the problem is I don't believe Carnotaurus or Chibutasaurus would have ever come into contact with each other. Carnotaurus lived much later into the Cretaceous period, like around 68 to 70 million years ago. Chibutasaurus is a member of the Somphospondyli lineage of sauropod dinosaurs that existed in Brazil around 98, somewhere between 98 to 100 million years ago. So it was existing at around the same time as Mapusaurus and Giganotosaurus, the large carcharodontosaurs were inhabiting South America. So that likely wouldn't have occurred. There were other species of abelisaurs that were also smaller than, oh, right, this guy. Who was it the other day?
With the short neck.
Yeah, there's another species of sauropod. But yeah, when it comes to Chibutosaurus, I think it is a bit of a huge guess when it comes to how this animal overall looked, because we've only found fragmentary remains of this animal. I think there have been certain parts of the legs that we have discovered, but besides that, I think the rest of the animal is a huge mystery. And this has occurred with many species of long necked sauropod dinosaurs, but there does seem to be enough of a distinction in the leg bones that we have uncovered that can classify it as its own species. Um, I mean, I guess what is realistic is that he's munching on a conifer, but besides that, um, he has a chipped thumb claw. That's a bit odd. And also, when it comes to his feet, they should be curved slightly, or at least when it comes to the toe claws. Also, like that specific thumb claw should be um, much longer compared to the other two claws as well. So, um, hold on. Let's go back to that other picture. Or was there another one of this creature, or is he kind of rare?
No, hold on.
Oh, okay. So, this species of sauropod was probably around 60 feet in length or pushing 18 meters.
Okay, if you know, you know.
Okay. Now it's just coming to the point where if I mention Megalosauroideae, then this individual will pop up. Um, so yeah, this is virtually an early 1900s description of Megalosaurus. So, a species of carnivorous theropod dinosaur from 168 million year old England, and as well as even continental Europe. So, different parts of Switzerland, Germany, this animal likely roamed, but it didn't come into contact with the other two dinosaurs. In fact, it lived before many species of abelisaur first evolved. Ceratosauridae, which is the large group of theropod dinosaurs that the abelisaurs belong to, did already exist, but they were quite small at that point. Megalosaurus was one of the largest species of carnivore to evolve in the mid Jurassic. This is definitely a much better depiction of a Chibutosaurus. And yeah, when looking at his overall foot structure, now his toes, it seems to be on this sauropod, they're a bit shorter compared to certain other lineages. Like when looking at members of Titanosauridae, the Diplodocidae lineage. I wonder why. Maybe we found certain short toes. Oh yeah, this is a really good depiction. It is definitely quite distinct from pretty much all other lineages of sauropod dinosaurs, like the Camarasauromorphs, definitely members of Titanosauridae, the Brachiosaurs. This is, I mean, even looking at the tail structure, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. Since the artist gave it a very slender type of a build, the legs in this case do very much match with it. So this animal was not a carnivore. It was simply feeding on different species of ferns, conifer trees, maybe even larger species of shrubs or cycads, and could not chew its food. Whoa, okay, yeah, that probably occurred quite often. And I guess these are smaller Giganotosaurs or Mapusaurus, but this sauropod could still probably reach over 15 tons. So
How is it up on top of him?
that would have been a very large individual. Yeah, that likely wouldn't have occurred. It's kind of giving it like a Jurassic Fight Club or well, there have been many older depictions like from the 19 um 80s. Actually, I wouldn't even say 1980s. You could go much further back to the early 1900s of theropod dinosaurs jumping onto their prey items. So, um so it's not even that or an early 2000s sort of in origin when it comes to just these types of depictions, but it's not bad. I mean, it's very realistic for a Tributosaurus or a sauropod in general to have stomped on one of the Mapusaurs, I guess in this case. Though biting onto the neck, I mean, sauropods in general didn't really have armored necks, so that could possibly be fatal. But something like a Mapusaurus jumping onto its side, also hanging on is not possible. It couldn't jump at that weight and also would risk breaking both of its arms just from the immense pressure of trying to hold its body up because it simply couldn't. Um, but yeah, it's very likely a food source of the Mapusaurus. Yeah, that definitely was an odd depiction. This one's not bad. Bit of a long sort of a face. I thought I was looking at like some type of a tinny strophiid sauroptegan Triassic reptile. So paleontologists suspect these ancient predators were also covered in fluffy feathers. Well, it definitely has been added to many depictions of certain abelisaurs in recent times by different paleo artists, but I don't know of any abelisaurs in which we have found preserved feathers from. The Abelisaur in the current study lived around 95 million years ago in what is now North Africa, which at the time was a lush savanna crisscrossed by rivers and mangrove swamps. You had many dense forests also within northern Africa during the early late Cretaceous period. So it wasn't necessarily like a the sub-Saharan ecosystem that you see in many parts of the non-Saharan desert region of the continent today. So it was much more lush and a lot more appealing. So this ancient tropical world would have provided the Belisaur with an ideal habitat for hunting aquatic animals like turtles, crocodiles, large fish, and other dinosaurs. I was wondering, I'm like, it doesn't really seem that Belisaurs in general would have fed on different species of fish, that they're going after different species of smaller reptiles. It's possible with the crocodilomorphs, but unlikely. And turtles. I mean, I guess if he there are those odd circumstances, but usually they're probably going to be just hunting different species of dinosaurs. So said Alfio Alessandro Charienza from Imperial College London and Andre Howe from the University of Bologna's Geological and Paleontological Museum. So is this over in Italy? I think it's where Bologna's from. Um. Oh, okay. So here are the bones. It's just the other side of it. The Abelisaur femur. So we're looking at the chipped thigh bone of an Abelisaur. So, by studying the fossilized dinosaur bone from Morocco, the paleontologists deduced that this Sabellisaur may have been 29.5 feet or 9 meters long and weighed about 2,000 kilograms or 4,000 pounds, 4,200 pounds. So, fossilized femora are useful for paleontologists to study because they can determine the overall size of a dinosaur. Yeah, I guess when helping the thigh bone, I think that might have been what we found of Chabutosaurus, so the other species of sauropod. This is because femora are attached to the thigh and tail muscles and have scars or bumps, which tell scientists where the ligaments and muscles were attached to the bone and how big those muscles and ligaments would have been. So, smaller Belissaur fossils have been previously found by paleontologists, but this find shows how truly huge these flesh eating predators had become, said Charienza, who's the lead author of a paper in journal Peer J. Their appearance may have looked a bit odd as they were probably covered in feathers with tiny, useless forelimbs, but no, make no mistake, they were fearsome killers in their time. Well, yeah, I mean, so were the terror birds of the Cenozoic era. But I think what I found odd was that they're definitely pushing the feather theory for a belly sores, yet there isn't really any evidence for a belly sores containing feathers. So I just find that a bit odd. We do have certain other members of the Ceratosauridae lineage that would have contained the belly sores that very likely had feathers, but a belly sores, that's a hard one. Possibly they're young, but outside of that, I think it's very unlikely for the adults because it was such a warm, um, and humid climates that these animals existed in. So there's really not a need for those feathers. I mean, you could say, well, it could help with attracting mates or intimidating other species of belly sores or carnivores in the area. You could have a very aggressive herbivore and maybe it could help scare it off. But I when it comes to insulation, definitely not necessary. Okay. Let's head over to another part of this Mesozoic. So, from Sci News, Eotrachodon orientalis, new duckbill dinosaur species discovered. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Here he is. I've heard of this individual. So, a team of paleontologists has discovered a new species of primitive duckbill dinosaur called Eotrachodon orientalis in Alabama. Okay, so um, this is a species of hadrosaur, actually possibly hadrosauromorph from the late Cretaceous over 75 million years ago. And I think with many species of hadrosaurs, it tends to be like certain areas of Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Alberta that they're more renowned from, which is true. But we do have a wide variety of different species coming in more recently from different parts of the eastern United States. Okay, let's see. Let's bring up another species. Actually, you know what? Let's go a bit further down, and then we'll bring up some other hadrosaurs. So, measuring about 25 feet or 7.6 meters long, Eotrachodon orientalis lived about 83 million years ago in the Upper Cretaceous period.
Adrian Rojo's in,
Well, hello, fellow theropod.
our dirt eater.
Oh, yeah. Um, I bet Midgard or the Earth is the Mesozoic layer of the Earth really appreciates it. Okay. According to a paper published online last week in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology, it is one of the oldest hadrosaurids, popularly known as duckbill dinosaurs. Known, it is one of the oldest hadrosaurids known, and the only hadrosaurid from Appalachia, present day Eastern North America, with a preserved skull. I do wonder when it comes to especially today, if that still holds true. I don't think it is now. Maybe depending. I mean, that's a very complete skull of a new species of hadrosaur. It's possible that the new species we have discovered are much more fragmentary. So maybe this holds the title when it comes to just the overall preservation. But we still have found other hadrosaurs more recently over and around in adjacent to the Appalachian region. Okay, so now let's bring up another species, the Hypacrosaurus. So Hypacrosaur. Yep, here he is. So this is a member of Hadrosauridae, and more specifically, the Lambeosaurinae lineage of hadrosaurs. So this is a close relative of other species such as Lambeosaurus and Corythosaurus. And this is a very complete skull of the creature. Yeah, specifically, like all of the molars seem to be intact. A very well preserved bill, and it is interesting because in many cases, when it comes to the hadrosaurs or the duckbill dinosaurs, their beak is pointed downwards towards the ground, at least on the front part.
Adrian Rojo said he was in Spain, so he missed a bunch of streams.
Well, glad to hear that you popped up, and um, I'm going to keep the feeding behavior out of mind. I just mean the eating dirt. It must be pretty hard to munch on also different types of gastroliths, but that's if you were classified as a sauropod. Anyway, so looking at the ecosystem back in late Cretaceous, Montana, Alberta at this time, you have it where there were different species of chasmosaurs in the region. So specifically, this seems to be the creature, the Styracosaurus in the center. But these Styracosaurs are being reconstructed as having immense horns, especially the nasal horn compared to their body size. Um, what on earth? There's a turtle with, I swear, its guts hanging out. What's with that? What? Now, here's the thing: herbivores can be extremely mean, so maybe they decided to rip him apart.
That's
But
probably why
that's
this one's hiding.
yeah, that is a bit odd. Even though those seem like two completely different species. Now, maybe there was a theropod a bit earlier, and the herbivores came over and scared him off. That's certainly possible.
And this one's saying, "Wait, did you just crush a turtle?"
Um, yeah, that is what. Actually, in fact, they all look confused. Hadrosaurs have that type of a look. They always look like they're having to take a much longer time to process information. Um, like, and let's see, these styracosaurs, they're definitely giving them like a very southern white rhino, sort of a I guess, mood or persona. They're just in the mud wallow and relaxing. You would still have had different species of tyrannosaurs roam the area at this point, like Albertosaurus, but full grown, like these are probably a couple of bull styracosaurs. They're not too concerned about, especially a lone Albertosaurus. Now, a pack, then there's a bit of a problem. But, I'm just astounded. They're giving these animals almost like a coelodonte or a woolly rhino, sort of a, elongated horn. In fact, you could even compare it to certain large horns of southern white rhinos of today, despite their horns not being made of keratin or the same substance that our fingernails and hair are made out of. However, they were covered in an extra layer of keratin, so possibly adding more than a foot or 30 centimeters of, um length to the overall horn-like structure, and that wouldn't have just occurred to the nasal horn. This would have been the same case for the horns along the frill, possibly even the beak to an extent. Now, focusing also on the hypacrosaurs. So these animals were both quadrupeds and bipeds, so they did have the ability to walk or specifically run on just two legs, and then could simply walk at a relaxed gait on all four. But they were feeding on different species of flowers and different types of shrubs in the region, as well as even going after different types of horsetails or ferns adjacent to the swamp and marsh ecosystems of Lake Cretaceous North America. When it comes to Styracosaurus, this animal is probably approaching the size or slightly smaller than the Hypacrosaurus. But Styracosaurus is still probably pushing around 20 to 22 feet in length, or maybe 6 to 6.8 meters, and probably weighed somewhere between 2 to 2.5 tons.
Should that have a crest like that?
Hypacrosaurus is reconstructed with a Corythosaurus like crest. It's still quite distinct from Corythosaurus. This is not a bad reconstruction of a Hypacrosaurus, but there's something that could be a bit off. I think it has to do with the overall skull in general, not including the crest. Um, hmm. Yeah, there's just something about it. Like it looks a little too almost in Montosaurus like, or maybe I'm trying to think of another, like a Hadrosauromorph specifically, because Montosaurus is a member of Hadrosauridae. Just looks a bit off there. Now, what I do find interesting is that it definitely added that elongated, almost neck pouch or throat pouch to the hadrosaur, which is or has been reconstructed on a wide variety of different paleo artists' depictions, though to a much more exaggerated extent. Um, okay, well, let's head back to the article.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
I just
okay, this is one of those older depictions of Hypacrosaurus. I mean, for the time, I think this was like 2011 or 2012. It's not a bad reconstruction. I think there was something. I think we pulled up maybe a species of sauropod the other day, where um, it's had a very creepy sort of a look to it. But this Hypacrosaurus, I still think it is a bit thin, especially around the neck region. There have been many reconstructions of hadrosaurs in recent years that have given a lot more. flesh to their overall body.
Okay. Why does it look like it's stealing the eggs?
Yeah, it does, but I think it's just oddly squatted or squatting. Yeah,
It looks like
um,
it's getting caught stealing the eggs.
sort of, or it's standing guard. Um, but yeah, you could say maybe it's one of those hadrosaur individuals that just simply isn't getting enough protein or calcium from the types of plants that it's feeding on. So it's decided, well, why don't I just go raid certain nests of other hadrosaurs or ceratopsians in the area? Which was very likely an occasional circumstance, especially like maybe during the dry season, but I think it's a bit of a debate as to when specifically they would have laid their eggs. Probably also having their chicks, and considering they're dinosaurs, you could call them chicks. Right as like the wet season was occurring, or at least when food was becoming more plentiful. Because you can have it where the wet season will occur, but then you have major flooding, and that can be a big problem for hatchlings that can't manage against something like a flash flood. But in many cases, we have not have evidence of the adults were not capable of withstanding the currents. But I think also just the gradual flooding of certain areas, and that can pose a problem during the nesting season. Um, let's see. So this is a really important animal in telling us how they came to be and how they spread all over the world. Said team member Professor Gregory Erickson of Florida State University. This is a paleontologist that has done a wide variety of research on, like, especially crocodiles and alligators, and comparing them to different species of theropod dinosaurs, but as well, like, even diving into different species of herbivores from the Cretaceous period. I think he's also possibly have he's made some accomplishments from the Triassic period, but I'd have to double check. So, the fossilized skeleton of Eotrachodon orientalis, including a skull, several backbones, a partial hip bone, and a few bones from the limbs, was originally found by fossil enthusiasts alongside a creek near Montgomery County, Alabama, the southeastern United States. Of course, near Montgomery. That's not too surprising. We have found different species of dinosaurs by the capital of that state. So the dinosaur mostly walked on its hind legs, though it could come down on all four to graze on plants with its grinding teeth and had a scaly exterior. But what set it apart is that it had a large crest on its nose. Oh, its nose, right? Really? It was an Eotrachodon? Um, what was it? Oh, so despite these animals having several hundred teeth inside their mouth, and this was very unique for the hadrosaurs specifically, because ceratopsians did not contain this many teeth. Pretty much none of the other different lineages of herbivores did. Now, the iguanodontids technically were already evolving several teeth, as well as later hadrosauromorphs. But when comparing it to different species of sauropods, different species of ankylosaurs or nodosaurs, the therizinosaurs, they did not contain this many teeth. And also the type of shape either. Despite also how efficient these animals are at grinding plants, they would not be suitable for today's tough grasses. In fact, you could travel back 30 million years and they would not be able to feed on the different species of grasses that started dominating much of the Earth's landscape. So this thing had a big, ugly nose, Professor Erickson said.
No, 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 a bugly.
Yep. Whoa. Wow. Wait a second. What are we looking at? It's all him?
Yep.
Oh, it's the bottom jaw. Okay. Wow. That's not bad. Hey, here's wow, are those all the molars? Yeah, quite long roots. Wide roots too. Okay, so during the Upper Cretaceous, North America was divided in half by a 1,000-mile ocean that connected the Gulf of Mexico and the Arctic to the Arctic Ocean. It's probably talking about the Western Interior Sea. So you had it where That's how over in different parts of Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, probably South and North Dakota to an extent, is how we find different species of long-necked plesiosaurs, marine reptiles like the mosasaurs. Well, plesiosaurs are also marine reptiles. Different early or late Cretaceous marine turtles. What's another thing? Oh, somebody also asked yesterday about whether or not we are able to estimate how long certain species of extinct marine animals could hold their breath. And yes, technically we can. It's looking at the bone density of their skeletal structures and certain other features that can help us come up with an estimate as to how long animals like the mosasaurs, the plesiosaurs could hold their breath for. Even the other late, um, the extinct species of large whales from the Cenozoic era. So, yes, there's a lot that we can obtain from those fossils. So, this body of water will created two North American landmasses, Laramidia to the west and Appalachia to the east. The area of what was considered Appalachia is a bit wider than what we called Appalachia today. It began roughly in Georgia and Alabama and stretched all the way north into Canada. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it was all um, nearly the whole stretch of North America that was cut in half by the Western Interior Sea. So now the interesting thing is, from more recent discoveries, like in the past year, we have found evidence of different species of mosasaurs from the late Cretaceous, like pushing 67 to 68 million years ago. Since we're talking about them, let's just bring them up. Bring up Tylosaurus. So Tylosaurus. So this is a species of mosasaur, not specifically Mosasaurus. It's its own distinct subfamily, um, but is a member of Mosasauridae. It belongs to Tylosauridae. So this animal is pushing somewhere around 30, maybe 35 feet in length, or between 9 to 11 meters, and probably weighed easily somewhere around 5 to 6 tons, but it probably became a bit larger. Was likely feeding on different species of sharks in the ocean, which at this point, sharks weren't much more or much larger than the size of the great white. So maybe pushing somewhere around 20 to 22 feet in length, or 6 to 6.8 meters, and probably weighed maybe 2,000 pounds, or a little over 950 kilograms. And yes, it does seem that we have evidence for different species of mosasaurs like Tylosaurus to have preyed on other mosasaurs. Where was I getting at with this? Oh, we have evidence recently of mosasaurs inhabiting freshwater um, rivers in different parts of Montana, I believe, and also preying on hadrosaurs within the ecosystem. So it's very interesting how adaptable these marine reptiles were. So this would have been even worse than the different saltwater crocodile populations that dominate certain coastal areas of South Asia, as well as Australia and like the Papua New Guinea region. Not that they aren't a hazard.
Okay, here's someone standing next to the skull of it.
Yeah, it's not a bad reconstruction. Oh yeah, this is the mosasaur over at the Morrison Museum of Natural History. So this is where like Dr. Robert T. Bacher is, and Matthew Mossbrucker. So yeah, I mean this is a very intact skull structure. I am wondering if also it was one of the specimens that possibly came in from North America, and this isn't one of those Morocco specimens, which is relieving, considering the amount of mosasaur specimens that come in from Morocco. There comes to a point where you just want to stick to the Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma region for a while. I think it was also other dinosaurs popping up. But Yeah, this animal also is probably feeding on different species of ammonites, different types of squids in the region. So virtually any cephalopod um, that existed within any nearby ecosystems or marine ecosystems, and even
This is
preying.
real.
Um, yeah, seems to be.
It says Tylosaur skeleton expected to fetch up to 120,000 pounds, or I think it's pounds.
Yeah, that's very much complete. Um, yeah, I'm just looking at the ribs. Yeah, it is interesting how earlier in the early late Cretaceous, these animals evolved from lizards. Like there's even an animal called Dallosaurus, and yes, found over in Texas that would have later evolved into these behemoths. That's probably like a close relative of the fish Ziphacinus that the animal's hunting, which we found preserved, choking to death on other fish. But the mosasaur definitely seems to be of, like, from one of those maybe 1950s depictions. Though that one, this also has a type of look, but I think it's much more recent. That's not a bad reconstruction. Okay, so for roughly 100 million years, so back to the article, the dinosaurs were not able to cross this barrier, said Dr. Hun Ebersol of McWane Science Center. The discovery of Eotrachodon orientalis suggests that duck-billed dinosaurs originated in Appalachia and dispersed to other parts of the world at some point after the seaway lowered, opening a land corridor to western North America. Yeah, I remember that theory popping up when it came to Hadrosauridae evolution specifically. And then there was just a massive explosion of them throughout the rest of North America as the Western Interior Sea evaporated, or I guess you could say just enclosed in on itself. And also making it to different parts of Asia, Northern Africa, and Central Europe. So they just needed to get off the island, Professor Erickson added. From there, they became the cows of the Cretaceous. Yeah, cows of the Cretaceous or the lawnmowers of the Cretaceous are what the hadrosaurs are also renowned as. Even iguanodontids to an extent, but really the hadrosaurs. Um, okay. Let's head over to the Cenozoic era. So from the spacedaily.com. Oh, whoa. Hold on a second. No. So in 2023, researchers placed a GPS collar on a young bull elephant in Zambia. 2 years later, his path stretched across 4 countries and 6 national parks, revealing the ancient routes elephants still remember and the human borders now cutting through them. A young bull elephant in southern Africa has spent the past 2 years walking, fitted with a GPS collar north
He's
of.
gotta be tired.
Um, yeah, I mean, they can cover like 40 to 50 miles a day. We're pushing um somewhere around like between 75 to 90 kilometers. So fitted with a GPS collar north of Sioma Ngwezai National Park in Zambia in June 2023, the animal known to researchers as Z16 has since covered close to 12,000 kilometers on foot. Wow. What is that? 4 to 5,000 miles?
Probably 4.
He definitely doesn't seem to have a lot of barriers. Yeah, when looking at the elephant population over in Zambia, there seems to be somewhere between 20 to 27,000 elephants, covering 3 different types of ecosystems. If you're looking at the hippo population, there's more. There's somewhere around 37,000 hippos over in Zambia, making it the world's largest population of hippos.
It's 3,728 miles.
Oh, that's actually less than I thought. Also, real quick, somebody asked yesterday, who described the capybara, or maybe I was wondering that. And yes, it was the Swedish taxonomist or naturalist Carl Linnaeus. And yes, he also named the bush elephant Loxodonta africanus. So let's head back. Oh yeah, when it comes to white rhinos, here's the funny thing. I wonder if this was recent. I don't believe so. But there's only about 54 white rhinos over in Zambia.
Uh,
So that's interesting.
Agent Rojo just said Isla Tequeno? Tequeno?
Sounds like an island, like
Yeah, when I
Isla
looked it up,
Sorna.
it says Jurassic Park.
There's Isla Nublar, Isla Sorna, Isla Sorna Site B. There might have been other islands, but I haven't
It's a
reviewed.
fictional island in Jurassic World Evolution. Oh,
Oh, I think I forgot they added islands in the game. I think yeah, oh yeah, because there's many. Okay. Yeah, great places. Very too well, in my opinion, way too small to house even like a single species of dinosaur. You're going to have immediate dwarfism. So a young bull elephant in southern Africa has spent the past 2 years walking, fitted with a GPS collar north of Sioma Nkwezai National Park in Zambia in June 2023. The animal, okay, we already said this. So, yeah, pushing 3,700 miles or 12,000 kilometers. That is roughly 3 times the distance from New York to Los Angeles. Huh? No. Is it? Well, no way. That can't be it. I swear that's approaching the distance from Los Angeles to New York. I mean, do you? Oh, I thought you were gonna highlight New York too.
I'm just gonna do it in miles.
So along the way, he crossed into 4 countries and moved through 6 national parks. I wonder what he was doing. The figures come from Elephant Connection, the conservation NGO that fitted the collar, and were reported in December by Mongabe. Of course, you pop up. In a wider piece on how elephants use the region's fragmented ranges. The
It's literally almost 3 times.
That's strange. I thought they were much further away or much further apart.
It says 2,451 miles by air, almost 2,800 miles by road.
Hmm. Huh? Let's see. So, Manga Bay and a wider piece on how elephants use the region's fragmented ranges. The distance is the least interesting part. What stands out is the shape of the route and the fact that most of the population does not follow it. Well, yeah, I mean, I somewhat agree. I mean, still fun to see just how far he traveled. Because he travels 40 to 50 miles each day. It's not impressive. So Z16 did not wander at random. I don't understand sometimes. You could have named him like um, Bob. So in early 2024, he used the
Franklin?
yeah, sure, Jefferson or Washington.
Oh, I wasn't going after
Wa-
president. I
wa-
just Franklin came to my mind.
Well, Washington crossed the Mara River. Anyway, we can keep it to Delaware. So he used the Sobe corridor and neighboring Madumu National Park in Namibia. Whoa, he did travel quite far. And Namibia is on the other side of the continent. Well, okay, I'm making it sound like he traveled all the way to Senegal. That's definitely not what happened. But he did travel from somewhat central, eastern, south central eastern Africa to the west coast of southern Africa. Okay, so cross back into northern Botswana. That's not surprising. He probably headed over to the Okavango Delta like during the wet season. Then
Adrian Rojo, what are you saying is unsettling? The distance he walked?
then headed south to hmm, Makadikabidi National Park. Why did you name it something Germanic? Via the Okavango Delta. So he appears to treat oh, I'm skipping this. So he likes MNP as his home ground. He also recently walked east to Hwange National Park in northwestern Zimbabwe, hundreds of kilometers away. Caroline Carter, a wildlife biologist and the founder of Elephant Connection, told Mangabe that bull elephants seem to take the onset of the summer rains around November as their cue to move, and that the paths they follow read like established ones rather than improvised ones.
Maybe he just needed time to think.
Um, yeah, it is probably so. I mean, it is interesting when it comes to like winter and summer or spring and fall in these parts of the world. It can be very confusing, especially to those from the northern hemisphere, because you have it where it's summer in the northern hemisphere or spring. It's actually um, fall, winter, and spring in the southern hemisphere, depending on where you are, especially in certain parts of Australia, Africa, like sub-Saharan Africa in this case. So you have it where it's summer here, and there in the winter, it's not necessarily cold, but it can be quite dry because it's a dry season. So let's see. She frames the rest as a guess. Her sense is that these are old routes that have been known for a very long time. The collar cannot confirm what an elephant remembers. It can only show that the movements are consistent and directional. Okay, so why bulls wander and cows mostly stay? I mean, they still wander depending on where you are. So,
That island translates to Stingy Island or Island of Misery.
um, oh, Buck mentioned in Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs. That's probably where they got it from.
Tacaño?
Or, huh? Small what?
What? I said, yeah, the Isla Tacaño.
Oh,
That's what it translates to.
hmm. Yeah, well, probably what would be occurring is it's very far off in the Pacific. I kind of wonder if the islands are based off of the Galapagos Islands to an extent, but it's very, they're tiny. Anyway, focusing on the elephant. Oh, well, not just the elephant. If we look at the predators that are inhabiting Zambia, you have about 1,200 lions. I don't know precisely how many prides there are. Not too many. I believe somewhere around 2 to 3,000 spotted hyenas. I don't believe there aren't any brown hyenas in this area. It's outside of the native range for them. And striped hyenas, it also could be a bit too far south. What's the other thing? Leopards, there doesn't seem to be an estimate on the leopard population, but it's by observations by different scientists, it seems to be that they're at least in the several thousand. So I would assume at least above 5 to 6,000 leopards inhabiting the country. Um, and who else? Oh, the zebra population, specifically the plain zebra, is somewhere around. Actually, it's a huge guess. It could be between like I think I saw 3 to 16,000. So that's a big guess, and I'm not sure about the blue wildebeest in the region, which is the same species of wildebeest that inhabits the Serengeti over in northern Tanzania and the Masai Mara over in southern Kenya, as well as adjacent areas within those two countries. Okay, where was I? So Z16's habits are unusual for the population as a whole. Data from 291 elephants colored across all 5 countries of the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area show that nearly half visited more than one country. Huh, that's interesting. Only 36% of those border crossers were female. That imbalance matters because female headed family groups make up more than 85% of the region's elephant population of close to 250,000 animals. Um, I think this is in an area that holds a large portion of the elephant population, like of Africa itself. This is probably including quite a bit of Botswana, probably into Zambia slightly, and possibly Namibia, but there aren't too many elephants over in Namibia. It has been slightly increasing. In fact, it's been the rhinos that have been having a bit of an issue lately. Okay, let's see. So bulls like Z16 make the map look well connected. The herds that drive the numbers largely do not travel like that. Carter's reading is that rivers and border fences present little obstacle to bulls, but are seldom crossed by cows traveling with calves. Robin Nadeau, a lead scientist with WWF US, offers a complimentary explanation. Females may treat large rivers as a natural edge of their home ranges, and their reluctance to cross fences could reflect either a memory of when those fences were electrified and patrolled, or the simple fact that the remnants still block a calf. I think this many species of mammal could hold that memory in general. I think it tends to be like only elephants, like sometimes having better memories than people. Now, maybe certain people that might be true, but for many humans in general, um they're going to have a much better memory. We're just having to intake so much more information. Let's see, what else? I mean, even when it comes to pigs or boars, dogs, cats, they have very good memories too. Deer. So the clearest evidence sits in a 2022 paper by Nadeau and colleagues in Frontiers in Conservation Science. Tracking data from collared females produced a map in which neither the animals on the Namibian side nor those on the Botswanan side ever crossed the border fence between them. Barrier held even where it had fallen into disrepair. There is a counterexample and it needs handling precisely. 3 years ago, Namibia's Ministry of Environment and Tourism collared a female in the fenced Mahongo Game Reserve. In April this year, she left the reserve and walked about 150 kilometers west to Kondum, or yeah, National Park, crossing several fences with no designated corridor to help her. In the reporting, it was described as the first such female movement recorded in more than 15 years of satellite tracking in that part of Namibia. So one animal in 15 years is not a pattern. Um, I got confused as to where specifically he was roaming. It shows the movement is possible, not that it is common, and Nadu's own framing is careful. In some areas, the useful thing is less a defined micro corridor than a general permeability across the whole landscape. So the Sobe corridor that Z16 used is small. It runs roughly 6 kilometers long and 4 wide, tucked into the northwestern corner of a wildlife conservancy in Namibia's Zambezi region. And it links protected areas across Botswana, Zambia, and Angola. Yeah, especially like certain areas of southern Angola. It sits inside Keza, a transfrontier conservation area of about 520,000 square kilometers that holds an estimated 228,000 elephants and around 3 million people. Nadu describes corridors at like Sobe as pressure release valves and as ecological infrastructure that needs maintaining in the same way roads and pipes do. Um, I don't think you need to worry about resting when it comes to these different species of plants or um, well, maybe if there were certain rebar left over, but I mean like specific trackways. Anyway, let's keep going. That framing is useful, but it can flatten the harder half of the problem. A corridor is not just a strip of habitat, it runs through land where people farm. Environmental anthropologist Emily Kohler Emily, who has done fieldwork at Sobe since January 2023 and published on the landscape with Michael Bollig in the review of regional research documents the cost. Crop raiding elephants are a serious problem for nearby farmers who receive no compensation if their fields are not adequately protected and often cannot afford strong defenses. Um, yeah, we have issues in the United States too. So some camp near their crops for weeks. I guess it's not surprising. So using fires and drums to drive elephants off at night. I haven't heard of drums being used. That's interesting.
Because they're allowed to eat everything, right? Or is
Um,
that only in other countries?
I remember India, it's like they could do whatever they want, but I have no idea when it comes to Africa. I would assume by um, maybe 1800s or early 1900s laws that um, the elephants would not be allowed to do this. But what color also records is a striking tolerance despite this. Farmers benefit from partial compensation from conservancy jobs as game guards and from a system in which the regulated trophy hunting of a small number of elephants for in 2023, funding things like home electrification. What? Wh- Why isn't that focused on the animals? What? Okay. One village headman told her the presence of elephants on their land was proof the country was still alive. Um. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I did get a bit confused though because we just went from where this elephant was wandering to elephant people conflict. Okay, so the case for corridors rests on easing overpopulation by letting elephants spread out. That logic depends on the animals that make up the bulk of the population, and those animals mostly stay put. Z16 makes a good story because he is an outlier. His route is long, legible, and easy to follow. The female herds that would relieve pressure on crowded ranges cross borders only rarely, and the fences that hold them are as much social and political structures as physical ones. What to watch is not the next wandering bull, but whether the Mahango female proves a one off or the leading edge of something the tracking will record again. If corridors are to work as their advocates hope, they will have to work for the herds, not only for the animals that trace the cleaner line. I think it would have been funny if it said earlier they were funding like electrification or air conditioning for the elephants themselves. Just make a massive barn. They can all hang out. It would have to be probably like, oh, that's it. Um, there's a hotel and it's adjacent to a protected area over in Kenya where annually there's a herd of elephants that literally walk into the lobby and the staff literally give them fruit and they just hang out in the courtyard
Wait a minute, where was that?
and they continue. It's somewhere in Kenya. I have to double check where it is, but I don't know where specifically. Um, it's not a huge herd, but yeah, I just all of them just take their steps. They're also very gentle about everything. They're very polite. See, is that it? Oh, okay. So, if you have any comments about prehistoric or current animals, please put it in the chat.
Okay, Adrian Rojo said the dinosaurs there looking like monsters who can mimic human voices.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah. I think he's talking about like one of those YouTube horror films, possibly.
are you saying it's a YouTube short, or are you just saying I looked it up and I didn't come up with what you're talking about?
Mm, maybe it's under a different title.
Uh,
I do wonder why specifically he decided to take this long of a trek. I mean, bull elephants are known for making much longer migrations compared to the females. Question is, maybe they're just simply naturally like more exploratory. Would make sense.
oh, okay. I'll look it up that way. Okay, Isla Taconia. Oh, Analog Horror is a viral fan-made internet horror project on TikTok and YouTube that represents the Jurassic Park franchise. It frames the in-universe island what? Yeah, island as a dark, secret testing ground where Henry Wu and John Hammond spliced distorted human dinosaur hybrids. Okay. Oh, I see it. Yeah, but I can't play this on here because I don't know what it is. He asked, could dinosaurs have good memories like elephants?
I would. Well, if you're, I think what you're possibly referring to is like foreign migration routes, and that is definitely probable. Now, the question is that what was necessarily the cognitive abilities when it comes to communication within the herd? I don't think it's going to be as complex as elephants. Also, considering their brain like taking over. Well, I guess maybe the nose isn't necessarily a good example, but I think it's just considering how much smaller the different parts of the brain are for sauropods as opposed to an elephant. And consider like an elephant, Loxodonta africanus or the bush elephant has a brain the size of a cantaloupe. Now, you could say that actually I think it's heavier when it comes to weight. I think possibly an elephant brain might weigh somewhere around 6 pounds. Um, but besides that, when it comes to sauropods, really does seem that most of the brain power is centered on or around balance. And you could also say that is a similar case with the elephant, but I'm going to have to review like different elephant brains or proboscideans in general when it comes to like mammoths and mastodons that we've reconstructed.
And an elephant brain weighs between 10 and 12 pounds,
Oh, okay. Remind
making
I
it the
was
largest brain of any living terrestrial animal.
Yeah, I think possibly the volume of an elephant is or the volume of the brain of an African bush elephant is around the size of a cantaloupe, but also one of the beige cantaloupe um, species. I don't know the approximate name of it, but not to be mixed up with like an Asian cantaloupe, which
This
is
is
much
interesting. So a blue whale's only weighs 15 pounds.
Oh, yeah, blue whales have very small brains compared to their body size. Now, it is larger in their case than comparing with any species of sauropods. So, also you have it where it is a carnivore, and so it's probably helps when it's taking in um, a lot of extra animal protein, and probably helps add to the intelligence, considering the smartest creatures to exist. Well, You could say they are omnivorous. I wouldn't necessarily call it pure carnivore, but blue whales are decently intelligent for the ocean. I would give it to the orca, however. Trying to think of what else. Oh, wait, is that it? Oh, yeah, long-term memories. Um, I think if it's not subject to something for or consistently, then the sauropod will likely forget. But that is a good question. I think I'm just going to have to do a review of where specifically the elephant puts most of the power in its brain, like as well as just comparing it with other sauropods in general and proboscideans. Possibly like even different members, like different lineages of animals that migrate on land. So probably even comparing it with different types of hadrosaurs, their brain capacity. Carnivores in general don't seem to migrate. You can have certain instances where they'll, quote, follow their herds, but they usually tend to stay within their territory and not leave unless it's something like a wolf pack. This might have been similar with certain species of tyrannosaurs or raptors or allosaurs. They might have moved their territories annually as well. At least like once the young were able to um, efficiently make longer treks. But then you have animals like lions and hyenas, which tend to be quite sedentary and they're simply just staying in a specific area. But you might have had certain carnivorous dinosaurs do that as well. What I was trying to get at that was simply that you have it where the herbivores are constantly having to move depending on the species. It's usually the much more social ones, not really solitary herbivores. So it seems to be a similar incident to like back in the Mesozoic era with different species of hadrosaurs, ceratopsians. Stegosaurs possibly stayed behind. I mean, these animals were also feeding on like a specific type or probably different specific types of plants that kept them from coming into conflict with other types of herbivores. So possibly during drier times, they just didn't migrate with like the different species of sauropods, especially if you're referring to the Jurassic or the early Cretaceous period, depending on the ecosystem. Okay, well, thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Happy International EO Trachodon Day. And remember that nothing is better than all animals all the time. And so we'll see you tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Central.